house I'd just moved into, sorting through decades of abandoned junk the previous owners couldn't be bothered to deal with. The estate agent had told me everything up there belonged to me now. Whatever you find, consider it a bonus. Most of it was rubbish. Broken lamps, old clothes that smelled like mothballs and damp paper. A collapsed cardboard box near the back caught my attention because it looked newer than the rest, the edges still sharp, the tape barely yellowed. Inside was a single book. No title, no author, no writing on the spine. The cover was black cloth, smooth and unmarked, except for a faint impression where letters might once have been pressed and then erased. It felt heavier than it should have, like there was more inside it than paper. I didn't open it in the loft. Something about the way it sat in the box, perfectly centered, untouched by dust, made my skin prickle. I carried it downstairs and left it on the kitchen table, telling myself I'd look at it later. I lasted 10 minutes. The first page held my full name, not just first and last. Middle name, correct spelling, even the accent mark most people miss. Below it was a heading, personal record. The handwriting was neat, old-fashioned, and unnervingly careful. The next line read, "You will hesitate before turning the page because you already know this isn't coincidence." I turned the page. The entries were dated, not past events, but future ones. March 3rd. You will move the book to the kitchen because you don't want it in your bedroom. March 4th. You will tell yourself you imagined the weight of it. March 5th. You will begin to wonder who wrote it. I checked today's date. March 3rd. The book felt warmer now, like it had been sitting in sunlight, even though the kitchen was cold. I shut it and pushed it away from me, my heart thudding hard enough to make my chest ache. That night, I dreamed of turning pages that never ended. On March 4th, I moved the book to the kitchen. On March 5th, I couldn't stop thinking about it. By March 7th, the entries had grown more specific. You will wake at 2:11 a.m., certain someone is standing at the foot of the bed. You will sit up, even though you know you shouldn't. You will not see anyone. Every word came true. The book didn't describe grand events. It didn't predict lottery numbers or disasters. It focused on small, private moments, hesitations, thoughts I'd never spoken aloud. The exact second my stomach would drop when I noticed something was wrong. It knew me too well. I tried skipping ahead. The pages resisted, sticking together like they didn't want to be separated. When I finally forced them apart, I found whole sections blacked out, thick ink soaking through the paper. Across the ink, written again and again in smaller, frantic handwriting, were the same words. Not ready. I started sleeping with the lights on. I tried throwing the book away. It was back on the table when I returned from work, positioned exactly where I'd first set it down. I tried leaving it in the car. The next morning, it was waiting on my pillow. On March 12th, a new entry appeared. You will stop pretending this is about the book. I didn't understand what that meant until the following day. March 13th. You will realize the entries aren't predictions, they're instructions. That was the day I tried not to follow one. The book said I would make tea at 6:18 p.m. I sat on the sofa, staring at the clock, determined to prove it wrong. 6:18 came and went. At 6:19, my hands were shaking so badly I spilled hot water all over myself. The pain was immediate. I stood up, went to the kitchen, turned on the kettle. When I checked the book later, the entry had changed. You made the tea anyway. The final section appeared overnight. No dates, no headings, is a point where the record ends, it is not because nothing happens after. It is because you stop being able to observe it. The last line was written in a different hand, uneven, pressed so hard it tore the page. Tonight, you will finally understand what the book has been practicing with you. It's open in front of me now. The next page is blank, except for a faint indentation, as if words are being written too slowly for me to read yet. I can hear the pen scratching, and it sounds like it's coming from inside the walls. I had a best friend growing up named Arjun, whose mom suffered from a form of bipolar disorder. Some days she was perfectly fine, friendly, talkative, warm. And then there were days when she was distant, cold, or even cruel. On the really bad days, he would knock on my bedroom window in the middle of the night, asking if he could stay over. Whenever he did that, he'd text his dad letting him know that he was with me and was okay, and he'd head back home the next day. His dad always understood and often came by to thank my parents for watching him before taking him back home. It was like that for most of our childhood, until one weekend where it was really weird. Arjun, or AJ as I called him, was hanging out at my place while my parents were out visiting family. He hadn't been home since yesterday, as his dad had to go out of town and his mom was having one of her bad days that ended up lasting a few days. We were in my room watching TV when our doorbell suddenly started ringing over and over again. Not just a ring, but frantic, non-stop. I went to the door and looked through the peephole. AJ's mom was standing there in a bathrobe. Her hair was a mess, and it looked like she had walked through old bramble bushes to get to our house because the robe looked dirty. I felt AJ behind me, breathing quickly. So I asked her through the door what she wanted. "I want to see Arjun. Arjun, come out here now," she yelled. He squeaked behind me. He was about to walk past me to the door, but I put my hand in front of him. There was something wrong. I was just a stupid 12-year-old and knew nothing about signs of bipolar disorder or anything. But there was something about his mom that didn't feel right. Even now, I can't explain the feeling that washed over me. It was this sharp, nauseating fear. Her face looked wrong. It was her face. The features were technically where they were supposed to be, but it wasn't right. It was like looking at a painting someone drew from memory. Close enough to recognize, but off in ways you can't quite pinpoint. Uncanny. Wrong. I put my finger to my lip and said through the door that he wasn't there. She didn't respond. She just stood there, staring directly at the peephole. She then reached for the doorknob and tried to turn it aggressively, like she was trying to force the lock to give. At that point, I got scared and repeated that he wasn't here. Still nothing. She just kept staring, her hand on the doorknob, her eye fixed on the peephole. Finally, after what felt like forever, probably about 2 minutes, she turned around and quietly walked back down the driveway and disappeared into the dark. Both of us were so shaken, we double-checked every door and window to make sure they were locked before staying in the windowless bathroom until my parents came home. When my parents finally arrived, I told them what happened. They agreed to drive him home and have a serious talk with his mother in the morning. But when they confronted her, she was completely stunned. She said she knew he was at our house, but she never went over. According to her, she hadn't left the house at all that weekend. My parents assumed she was lying to avoid trouble, but nothing came of it, and AJ's dad even confronted her about it. She was adamant that she never came to our house. But me, after nearly 20 years, I still believe wasn't AJ's mother. He arrives in Manhattan with one suitcase and a laptop bag full of resumes. It's been 3 months since graduation. The job offers haven't come. His savings are thinning out. The plan was simple: find a cheap studio, pick up part-time work, and keep applying until something stuck. For 5 days, he drags his luggage from Harlem to Queens, from Craigslist listings to broken intercoms. Everything is too expensive. Even the smallest studios and crumbling walk-ups want more than he has. He thinks about giving up and going home. Then one appears. A basement studio on the Lower East Side. Private entrance. Surprisingly clean with white walls, working heater, small bathroom, and a sturdy desk near the window. The rent is half what it should be. The agent hesitates when he asks why. There was an incident, she says, eyes shifting toward the floor. A tenant, a few years back. The place is fine now, but, well, people remember. He nods. I'll take it. Move-in day is damp and gray. His girlfriend helps carry boxes down the short stairwell. She's surprised at how cheap it is, but doesn't push. He avoids explaining. By evening, the room is in order. The suitcase is tucked beneath the bed. Books are stacked on the shelf. Instant ramen fills a plastic bin. There's just enough floor space for a mattress folded against the wall. He sits at the desk and opens his laptop. She stands behind him, quiet. After a moment, her hands rest on his shoulders. You'll figure it out, she says softly. You're doing everything right. He nods, eyes on the screen. You don't have to do that. You've been helping all day. I'm fine. Her thumbs press gently at the base of his neck, steady and rhythmic. He scrolls through job boards, reworks a cover letter, highlights a line in his resume. 10 minutes pass. The touch continues. He smiles. Your hands must be tired. You don't have to keep going. The motion stops. He types another sentence. The keys click in the small room. A minute later, the massaging begins again. Hey, he says without turning. You really should rest. You've got work in the morning. Silence, then stillness, then again the contact, gentle, repetitive, just enough to be noticed. He exhales through his nose. The cursor blinks. Seriously, he says, I'm fine. No response. The touch continues. He turns. It is a young woman. A rope wrapped around her neck. Head tilted, eyes downturned. Her body hangs from the ceiling directly above him. It is her feet, pale, cold, swinging above that tap against his shoulders. My daughter is my pride and joy. She's 8 years old, and from the very moment she was born, she was like an angel sent down to earth, and it was my job to water and nurture her into adulthood. We have this tradition where every night just before bedtime, I'll read her a few pages out of her favorite book. Watching my little girl so entranced, so encapsulated in the story, it made my heart glow with a warm light that blanketed my entire being. On this particular night, we were on chapter 12 of Charlotte's Web, and Charlotte had just rounded up all the barnyard animals. This is around the point in the story where she starts spinning messages into her webs, like some pig, terrific, all those subliminal messages to keep the farmer from slaughtering Wilbur. My daughter had quite the little meltdown, pouting how afraid she was that Wilbur would go on to be sold and butchered. Come on, Pumpkin, I plead. Do you really think Charlotte would let that happen? Look, she's leaving notes so the farmer knows Wilbur what to say to this. A man in my closet? What? Ha ha, yeah, silly. Just like the man in my closet. Finishing up, I closed the book and began to tuck my daughter in, giving her a gentle little kiss on the forehead and brushing her golden blonde hair back behind her ear. All right, sweetie, you have sweet dreams for me, okay? You too, Daddy, she cooed. Lying in bed that night, I couldn't shake the unease. Man in my closet, she said. What kind of kid fear makes her think there's something in my closet? I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I checked. I actually, ever so cautiously, made my way over to the closet before sliding the panel open to reveal nothing but darkness before me. Yanking the pull string and flooding the closet with light, everything seemed to be in order. Shoes, shirts, pants, and a crumpled sticky note tucked under the edge of the drywall. Some pig scribbled in red ink. I did everything I could to rationalize it. Maybe my daughter left it? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's part of some poorly made grocery list. I don't know. No, this couldn't be rationalized. It was too perfectly coincidental. I grabbed a bat and I made my rounds. Hello, I shouted. Hey, if there's anyone in here, you better come out now, 'cause I'm calling the cops. I went through every room in my house and didn't find even a hint of a person. All the yelling had awoken my daughter, who was now standing at my side. What happened, Daddy? She grumbled, wiping sleep from her eyes. Nothing, honey. Let's get back to bed. Come on, it's late. Did you find the man, Daddy? I paused. What man? What man are you talking about, Roxy? Tell me now, I said sternly. The man from your closet, Daddy. I told you. Don't you remember? There's no one in the closet, Roxy. I checked already. I thought I heard something in the garage. So you didn't find the note? My blood ran cold. What do you know about a note, baby girl? I asked playfully to mask the fear. He told me he left you one. He said it was like from the story. Sitting my daughter down on her bed, I pulled the crumpled sticky note from my pocket. Are you talking about this note, sweetheart? I asked her. Yes, it's just like from the story, Daddy. Look, some pig. She laughed, clapping like she just saw a magic trick. Needless to say, we camped out in the car for the remainder of that night. The next morning, I sent Roxy off to school and began my extensive search of the house. I'm talking looking for hollows in the drywall, shining flashlights in the insulation-filled attic. Hell, I'm checking under the bathroom sink for Christ's sake. Finding nothing and feeling defeated, I plopped down on the couch for some television when the thought hit me. Roxy said he wanted to leave one for me. Could this mean that he's already left some for Roxy? I rushed to her room and began rummaging, emptying the toy bin, searching the desk and dresser, not a note to be found. However, glancing at her bookshelf, I noticed something that I hadn't before. A thin, aged-looking composite notebook with cracks branching across its spine and yellow pages. It wasn't the notebook that caught my attention, though. It was the flap of a bright yellow sticky note that stuck out ever so slightly from between the pages. Opening it up, what I found horrified me. Each page was completely covered in sticky notes from top to bottom and left to right, like a scrapbook of notes that, according to my daughter, came from a man in my closet. None of them were particularly malicious. In fact, it was as though they were all written by a dog that had learned to communicate. Hello, one read. Roxy, read another. Waiting, window, daddy. Just single-word phrases that looked to be written by someone who was mentally challenged. Who do I even turn to for this? What would the police say if I brought them this? Roxy got home and I confronted her about it. "Roxy, sweetie, I found this in your room today. Is there anything you want to tell me about it?" "Those are the notes, Dad. I told you so many times," she said, annoyed after a long day of second grade, I guess. "Yes, I know that, dear, but where did they come from? How did that man give you these?" "He always leaves them for me after our stories, Daddy. It's like his thing." "Leaves them where?" She stared at me blankly. "Ugh, where have I said he lives this whole time?" she snarked, rolling her eyes. "He's in your closet." "Roxanne Edwards, is that absolutely any way to speak to your father?" I snapped. "Go to your room right now and fix that attitude you've picked up today." "Well, sorry," she croaked. "It's not my fault you won't listen to me. Keep it up, young lady, and so help me, I will see to it that you stay in that bedroom all weekend." She closed her door without another word. I hate to be so hard on her, and it's not even her fault, really. This whole situation has had me on edge for the last couple of days. About an hour passed, and by this time I'd decided that I should probably start thinking about dinner. I figured I'd get pizza as a truce for Roxy, so I called it in and started looking for a movie we could watch together. Midway through browsing, I heard giggling coming from Roxy's room. That's odd, I thought. What could possibly be so funny? Sneaking up as to not disturb whatever moment she was having, the first thing I noticed was the book in her hand. "That's my girl," I whispered under my breath. I didn't raise an iPad kid. However, pride quickly dissipated when I realized that her eyes were glued to the floor by her bed frame instead of the copy of James and the Giant Peach. Hey kiddo," I chirped. Her eyes shot up from the floor to meet mine. Hi Dad. What are you up to in here?" I asked her. "Oh, you know," she said wondrously. Just readin'." "Just readin', huh? I thought I just heard you laughing." "Oh yeah, there was just a silly part in the book," she said distractedly. "Well, are you gonna tell me what it was?" I chuckled. "Your old man likes to laugh too, you know." I'll tell you later. I'm getting kinda sleepy. I kinda wanna go to bed." "Go to bed? It's only 7 o'clock. I just ordered pizza." "Come on, pumpkin. I thought we could watch a movie." She answered with a long, drawn-out yawn. "Okay, fine. Well, at least let me read you some more of that Charlotte's Web," I begged gently. "I don't think I want a story tonight," she said, reserved and stern. "No story? But I always read you a story." Okay, fine. If you're that tired, I guess I'll let you have the night off." "Sweet dreams, pumpkin." This finally drew a smile onto her face. "You too, Dad," she said warmly, before getting up to give me a big, tight hug. That night, I ate pizza alone in the living room while I watched Cops Reloaded. I finally called it a night at around 11 when my eyes began to flutter and sound began to morph into dreams. Crashing out onto my bed, I was just about to fall asleep when the faint sound of scratches made its way into my subconscious. The scribbling, carving sound of pen to paper. I shot up and rushed to the closet, swinging the door open and yanking the pull string so hard I thought it'd break. Lying on the floor, in plain view, were 3 sticky notes, each one containing a single word scrawled so violently it left small tears in the paper. "Do not yell." That was enough for me. All the sleep exited my body at once as I raced to my daughter's room, car keys in hand. My heart sank when I found an empty room and a window left half open. I screamed my daughter's name and received no response. Weeks went by, and no trace of Roxy had been found. I am a broken man. I've thought about suicide multiple times because how could I let this happen? My pride and joy, The one thing I swore to protect no matter what, taken right from under me. The only thing that stopped me is that a few nights ago I heard scribbling from my closet. Less violent this time and more thoughtful, rhythmic strokes. Hurrying over to the closet and repeating the routine once more, I was greeted with but one note this time. One that simply read in my daughter's exact handwriting. "I miss you, Daddy."